What's up, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of the Bruce and Josh Show. We're going to be talking about everybody's favorite thing, interest rates. Where are they headed? Where have they been? What's the Fed doing? What's going on with inflation? Let's get into it.
So let's start from the inflation type of, since it's a driver. Inflation, certainly in a that's not right, post-COVID, I was going
Apocalyptic.
to say. On this side of COVID, we had the people were staying in more, people were not going to large events as much, people were just kind of cocooning off a little bit, but we're fatigued of that. I don't care where you are in the world, we're fatigued of that.
I still like staying home.
And so even though the pandemic is still here and we're still getting a lot of people with COVID, we're still almost back to normal in many places in terms of large gatherings and travel. Travel, certainly, all the planes are full. So the market that was tuned to a place where we were at a certain level of expenditures, a certain level of needing to create things, is now giving us an issue with inflation because several things are happening right now. People are back to buying, people are back to traveling, people are back to doing kind of almost a more normal life.
So correct me
but
if
people
I'm
are still
wrong.
getting COVID.
What it is essentially we flipped the switch of the market and said, okay, turn the market off, and we rode it with basically a dead market, and then all of a sudden the market just came back alive.
We flipped the switch.
We flipped it back on, and then it was like, wow, here's the market again.
But yet what's happening now is that the market is kind of back full-fledged normal again, but people are still getting COVID, for example. So, airlines, for example. People are getting COVID pilots and flight attendants, and so they're having to cancel flights even though the demand is there for it. Mm-hmm. Same thing is happening in manufacture of appliances, building of homes, supplying bread to the supermarket, paper products to the supermarket, is that people are having to go home sick from COVID and can't work full shifts to produce the products.
Sure.
So that's keeping the shelves empty, that kind of thing. So that's creating inflation, because anytime you have a supply chain disruption that is going to make it be less available, that's going to cause some inflationary type issues. So inflation has gotten to a point where it's higher than it's been since somewhere back in the 80s for many sectors of society.
Wow.
If we keep having a higher inflationary type rate, the Fed is going to try to cool it down by raising interest rates, which does several things. It encourages savings, for one. It also makes the cost of borrowing higher.
Makes me sad.
Which has the effect of cooling things down a little bit. For example, in the housing, let's just go to housing since that's what we do. If interest rates rise a little bit, 0.5%, a percentage point, people may still want to buy a house, but they're going to qualify for a lower price house. Since at 4% interest, you can't buy the same house that you would buy at 4.5% interest.
Right.
So if you qualify for a $400,000 house at 4% interest, you're probably only going to qualify for a $350,000 or $60,000 house at 4.5% interest. So it's just math. It's just the way it works. So that's going to mean that the market gets smaller for pricing of houses. It's going to make it more busy in the sector that is on the lower end of the housing range. It's going to slow it down a little bit on the upper end. Not enough to do significant inventory changes, in my opinion. But
yeah,
here's
like we said in I think our other video, I don't think much is going to do anything to change that inventory.
So what I would say is, again, as we said in a previous video, if you can buy right now, I would buy right now. So you're going to get the benefit of being able to lock in at a lower rate, lower payments, buying now before prices continue to rise later in the year. So if you can, I would just get to the point where you say, I'm going to jump in the market sooner than later. Not that it's detrimental if you wait a little later, because still 4.5% is historically very low in comparison with where interest rates have been for most of my career.
I know people freak out about 4.5% interest rates, and they were probably living when it was in the teens, when it was 16% interest rate.
So don't think this is a dire situation at all. But just know that where they are right now, most likely they're going to go up a little bit because of inflation, trying to slow down inflation a little bit.
Cool. Well, remember always to, the one mess up of the video. Share us with your friends if you find it.
Well, while he's finding his words, let me mention that we have another show called What's for Dinner, Pensacola. So look on this channel for those episodes as well. Have you found your words yet?
No.
Okay, well then we'll see you next week.